Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show. It's a five-part series, and we're counting down to Christmas. Of course, it is the holiday season, and as I speak, it is Thanksgiving 2015 or 2014. I'm a year ahead of myself here. Thanksgiving 2014. It is the day Thursday, the last Thursday in November, and I'm here to start off my 5-week series talking about the comedies of the 1980s. And as part of today's, it's a Thanksgiving special on this edition. And as part of the show, we're going to talk about that great Thanksgiving classic, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We're going to talk films such as John Candy's great film, Uncle Buck. We're going to talk The Great Outdoors. We're going to talk about films such as, throughout the series, we're going to talk about films such as Spies Like Us. We're going to talk about films such as Ghostbusters 1 and 2, films such as, such greats as the brilliant and unbeatable, if you will, Little Shop of Horrors, the musical comedy starring Rick Moranis, and such cameos as Steve Martin, John Candy again, of course, James Belushi, and the one and only, there's another big name in it, like Dan Aykroyd. I think, no, he doesn't make an appearance in that one. But we're going to talk some Dan Aykroyd as well, in the great films such as Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, and a couple of other gems that he's in. But we're going to talk some Eddie Murphy as well, and Trading Places, as I said, along with such films as Coming to America with Arsenio Hall, other stuff like some of his great stuff. And then we're going to talk about the platform where a lot of these guys made their name. We're going to talk SNL, Saturday Night Live. We're going to talk about a few of the segments from SNL over the years, and some from the 80s stars in the 70s. A lot of them guys made their name on SNL, Saturday Night Live, and a lot of them went on to be in great movies of the 1980s and the early 90s. I'm a big fan, as you can tell. I'm a very big fan of this genre of film, especially the 80s, because a lot of people look at comedy movies and they think, a lot of them look at the likes of Sex Drive these days, and the likes of films such as comedies like the American Pie series, and you've got all them teen comedies that are very much based around sex and the idea of sex is the center point of everything in these films. Whereas the 80s comedies and some of the 90s comedies, there's a lot of quirky joking, and there's a lot of innocent fun, kind of more than just the everything evolving around sex and stuff. So I would find the 1980s stuff more kind of easy to watch, as far as there's not as much bullshit in it, if you know what I mean, because you can have fun without the cheap humor which they use in some of today's stuff, and they really, in most of today's stuff, it's a lot of cheap humor and stuff. And I think reverting to joking about sex and stuff is cheap humor because it's easy to come up with. Whereas if you have the skills to develop a joking situation or a comedy situation where you don't go straight to that subject, you can go use innuendos, or you can go straight to you can go to quirkiness, and geeky funniness and stuff, which is a lot more funny in my opinion. And to a lot of people out there who are hardcore fans of movies and fans of film and fans of really camera work in general, or work that is done with the visual arts, if you're a fan of this concept, I think, or especially if you're a comedy fan, you would agree with me on this. But as I said, we're going to be talking about many of the great films of the 1980s, a bit of SNL in there, and we're going to talk about all the great stuff from that decade and that group of actors, which I've mentioned, the likes of John and James Belushi, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and then, of course, the likes of John Candy, Chevy Chase. Of course, we'll be talking the Vacation series, the Chevy Chase National Lampoon's Vacation series, which are absolutely very, very funny stuff. other stuff I'm going to be talking about on this particular series. Um, we're going to delve into a lot of the stuff, and I hope you all enjoy it, folks. It is my Christmas countdown, 5 episode series of the comedies of the 80s, and this is the first episode, which is a Thanksgiving special. So happy holidays to all you Americans out there. Happy Thanksgiving. And to all the rest of the world that like to partake in the celebration as well, because that's allowed as well. Because everybody can give thanks for something. And I'm very thankful for the family. I'm very thankful for having the life that I do. And thankful for being alive and well, obviously. And I'm thankful for everyone around me, all my friends, which I like to call the Coasters Connection, and all the family. So I'm thankful for all that. So what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving, dudes? So the Coaster is going to go on with the show here now, the comedies of the 1980s, and the first comedy that I'm going to talk about on this particular episode is that one that we mentioned at the top of the hour, and it is one of the greatest John Candy films of all. I think it's the greatest. I think you would have to call this the greatest comedy of the 1980s, and we're going to start off with the best, folks. We're not leaving the best to last in this one. We're going to leave some of the best to last, but I think this is the one that is going to be the best as far as the comedies of the 1980s. And John Candy, starring along with Steve Martin, Candy as the happy, chirpy, happy, clappy guy, happy, clappy, big guy, I might add, and of course Steve Martin as the the smaller of the two, and of course as the really at the start of the film and more into the middle of the film, he's very subdued kind of guy who doesn't want any trouble and gets pissed off at the happy quirkiness of Candy, and basically ends up being falling in love with this big character, becoming good friends with, in other words, with Candy's character. Very, very funny film. I think it's definitely worth delving into if you've got time now over the holiday season. If you've got time tonight even, Planes, Trains and Automobiles will be ideal viewing on Thanksgiving. I would have, this will probably be uploaded actually beyond Thanksgiving. I'd say it could be maybe Saturday or maybe even Monday or Tuesday before this is uploaded, but it'll definitely be uploaded in the next week, and then I'll be working on the second episode next week. But anyway, John Candy as Merv Griffith, and of course the other guy, Steve Martin's character. They're very, very good. Very, very good viewing. Some of the dialogue in this film is unbelievable. It's made by the legendary filmmaker and comedies movie maker John Hughes, who has worked on such comedies as The Breakfast Club, the Brat Pack, that's the BRAT Brat Pack group, of course starred in that film. It was a teen comedy, but then again, it wasn't all based around what I was saying about the sexual stuff. It wasn't all cheap humor. There was a lot of comedy in that film with the great 80s music blended in. It really was cool. And I would find the same with Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Is such a great watch, such an easy watch, and I really enjoy it. It's all about Steve Martin is going home for the holidays for Thanksgiving, and he is finding it hard to get a taxi and stuff. And this character, Merv Griffith, of course, played by as we know John Candy, steals his taxi, and it ends up that they actually end up bumping into each other on the different methods of transport, and they end up getting a plane together. And Candy is at his usual kind of mischievousness and stuff, and his way of going on doesn't sit well with Martin, and they end up having this friendly rivalry on the journey, and they end up being late for Thanksgiving, and they as the story goes on, that you really have a lot of affection for Candy's character, and even Steve Martin's character develops a lot of affection for Candy's character, and the story advances from there. It's a very, very touching story. The way that Candy's character reveals stuff about his life and stuff touches a chord on touches parts of you. You know what I mean? And it really is good. But definitely would give Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a 10 out of 10. I couldn't fault the film. Would be definitely on top of my pile of great films of the 1980s comedies. You know, I was looking into my comedy collection, my 80s comedies DVD collection there the other day, and I realized I have about, out of all the films that I'm kind of covering on this, I'm just going to be covering about 20 films on this show, reviewing them, and then on this series of episodes, and then I'm going to be maybe touching on 4 or 5 along with them. But out of all the films, I would say I have about 30 80s comedies on DVD, but I just noticed today that, or just noticed the other day that only 18 of them are on Netflix. So that means I've got about 12 or 13 of my 80s collection is not on Netflix or in any of the big, famous streaming systems. Like, I have Netflix. I'm a proud owner of Netflix and all. I'm a proud user of Netflix, and I really love Netflix and have some of the great stuff on Netflix. But it doesn't have everything. Everybody says, oh, like, I have got rid of a lot of my collection and got money for it and replaced it and stuff. A lot of my stuff because of Netflix and because of the WWE network, which I have, of course, as well, which is a whole different ball game, a whole different sport completely. But we're concentrating on films here now. But because of having these different streaming systems and video on demand systems, you don't need as many of the DVDs and stuff. But for my 80s comedies and that, I haven't really traded on 80s comedies because I like to have them on DVD for a memo, a memento. But I just noticed, I thought I would share that there's actually 12 or 13 out of my collection of about 30 80s comedies that are not on Netflix. So it's nice to know that there is a lot of my collection not on Netflix, which is great. But anyway, we've talked about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now let's go to a trailer. This is the trailer for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
During holiday travel, some people get delirious. Some get delayed. And some get Del Griffin.
American Light and Fixture, Director of Sales, Shower Curtain Ring Division.
Neil Page got all three.
I was on my way home to spend a nice holiday with my family. Instead, I'm in a motel bed with a stranger.
So instead of Thanksgiving with his family, he's spending 3 days with the turkey.
Two happy clams just whistling down the road.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the Marconi family.
Paramount Pictures presents
Wilma!
Steve Martin,
You ever been to Hawaii?
Yeah.
You see Don Ho while you were there?
See the second show. That's the best one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
John Candy,
Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
in a new film by John Hughes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
See that Bears game last week? Yeah, hell of a game, hell of a game.
Yeah, such a such a great film there. That movie starring John Candy and Steve Martin, directed by John Hughes. Great show. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Definitely worth a watch this Thanksgiving or leading up to Christmas. Definitely. Okay, we're going to move on now and talk a bit about one of the greatest film series that I have ever come across over the years. And this film also has a cameo from John Candy, and it stars Chevy Chase. It's the first of it's the first installment of this series, and it is the National Lampoon's Vacation series. And the film is called simply National Lampoon's Vacation, and it stars Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, A couple of other the kids are the guy went on to be a pretty big name, and he was in the Breakfast Club and stuff like that. The girl isn't really. I don't think she ever made a big name for herself, but uh, the group in the film really do well. They are brilliant as the family, the traditional American family going on the vacation. I know that Chevy Chase just blows it away with some of his antics in the film. It was made in 1983. This movie, uh, and it has some of the greatest comedy you will ever come across in a film. So funny, this stuff. Uh, you know, I've never, I, it's such a great concept as well. It's based in the summer, I believe, and it's like a summer vacation. They're all heading across America, going from one side of America to the other, leaving Chicago or some place like that, and heading over to Wally's World, which is over in California. And they stop at all these different parts of the states, and they explore the different traditions in America and all. And they go across, and it ends up that they're in Wally's World, and it's closed. Well, I'm not trying to spoil it for you, because you can't really spoil a comedy, because the different quirkiness in between is what makes the comedy anyway, or the comedy bits in between. But they meet then the attendant at this Wally's World, and it's John Candy, and they let him into he lets the family into Wally's World, and they have a great time with John Candy and some of the expressions from Candy. He doesn't get a lot of dialogue and expressions, but he really uses it throughout the 20 minutes or maybe 15 minutes or so that he's in the film. He blows it. He nearly steals the show. He was very, very funny as this extra character in it, and it's basic enough. It's a basic enough concept, but it's such a great film. Chevy Chase and Co. really blow it away in this one. That is National Lampoon's Vacation, the first of them. Here is the trailer. Here we go.
This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation. See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
Great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Let Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo,
Mark.
Imogene Coca, Randy Quaid, John Candy, and Christy Brinkley.
Well, are you gonna go for it?
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Take you for a ride. This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation.
Better check under the hood.
Such a great film, National Lampoon's Vacation. I love the soundtrack to that one. Holiday Road, of course, was brought out by Lindsey Buckingham. He was very good at that film, Holiday Road. Holiday Road. Yeah, great film. Great show, and brilliant soundtrack throughout that film as well. Okay, we're going to move on now. We're going to talk about National Lampoon's Vacation. This was the National Lampoon's European Vacation, the second of the films, and it was starring Chevy Chase. It was, I understand, a 1985 film, and Chevy Chase, along with the family again, Beverly D'Angelo. The two kid actors were different for this one, which was interestingly to note. I don't know what the idea was there about changing up the kid actors, maybe because they wanted to make them look a lot older. Maybe the actors from the original one didn't look too much older, but the way it was anyway, the kid actors were a bit older. They were all on vacation in Europe. They started in London, where it actually starts off, they won a game show, and they end up being sent as a prize, they'll be sent to a tour of Europe. And they go on a tour of Europe, start in London, England, and they go over to Paris, France, then over into Germany, and you see them in Germany during the, with their Lieberhosen and stuff during the Oktoberfest. I think it's set in the fall, or set in autumn. And then they go into Italy, and you see them with that's really very much a film about when in Rome do as the Romans. So they really enjoy the different concepts of the different parts of Europe and they're exploring the old world, if you will, and very much there's a great. It's very much about these Yanks that are in Europe, and they're touring around Europe. Very much the tradition of the Yanks going as the Yankee tourists. Do you know what I mean? Very, very funny. Chevy Chase steals the show again, but the film I definitely wouldn't rate as high as the National Lampoon's Vacation, the first one, but I would definitely rate it pretty high. As I would give the first one, the 1983 original, I would give that about 8 out of 10, whereas I would probably give this one, National Lampoon's European Vacation, the second one, I'd probably just give about 6 out of 10. Wasn't as entertaining as the first one. It wasn't as much star power where you had John Candy come into the first one and stuff. But I definitely would watch it. I think it's definitely worth a watch. That is National Lampoon's European Vacation. Here is a wee trailer for this one.
This summer, when you think vacation, watch out.
Carcone!
The Griswolds are going to Europe.
Hey, Dad, look. Bedpans.
This is your chance to travel the continent with them.
Will you please slow down? The kids are exhausted.
Honey, the closes in 15 minutes or 100,000 works of art to see. Come on!
Create your own ruins.
English are certainly,
Make new friends.
No harm done, yes. It doesn't really hurt much at all.
Visit distant relatives.
Well, there it is, kids. My motherland.
Dad, Grandma's from Chicago.
Shut up, Russ.
So, see the old country before there's nothing left. Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Hold it.
The vacation getaway for the family everyone is trying to get away from. National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Okay, welcome back to the show. That was me. I was talking about National Lampoon's European Vacation. You've seen a few clips of it there. Very, very funny stuff. Now we're going to talk a bit more about another film, and a film that is starring the great John Candy, the third of which stars him out of my reviews today. This is the fourth today. I'll be talking briefly about another couple of films in a while, but this is the last big review today on this show, on this first episode of the Comedies of the 80s series. And this one is a film starring John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, and it's from 1989, and it's a great, great film, and it's called The Great Outdoors. And The Great Outdoors is all about Dan Aykroyd is with his family, including Annette Bening, who, of course, Annette Bening is a big name from the 80s as well, great actress, and she is the wife of Dan Aykroyd in this, and they're on John Candy, who is Annette Bening in the film, Annette Bening's brother, Dan Aykroyd's brother-in-law, and John Candy is on vacation in the woods. He's out in the woods, Woodland, America, along with his wife. I'm not so sure who plays his wife again, but they have their kids out in the woods, you know, and all of a sudden, arrived out of nowhere is Dan Aykroyd and his wife Annette Bening and their family, they arrive into this vacation, this holiday home, which is like a wee wooden cabin out in the woods that they've got, and they end up having a big adventure out in the woods and stuff. Very, very funny film. It's another concept that obviously that was brought to the table in Hollywood, and they got these great comedy actors, and these guys, of course, Aykroyd and Candy, all both Canadian, by the way, and they had so much success in Second City TV, which was the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live, and then they were brought down to Saturday Night Live after that, and they've made a big name for themselves, these two guys, and now they're doing this great film together. 1989 was the year, and it was one of the greatest comedy movies of the 1980s, I would definitely say. Such a funny, funny film. The part where Candy has to eat the big steak. I think it's a massive big steak in the bar as part of the film, and Candy eats it and stuff, and and it's really making fun of his size, but at the same time, Candy always was game for that type of thing. I think if you're an actor and you're a big guy, you can use it to your advantage as well. And Candy was a great influence for me personally. I'm an actor myself, and I don't glorify the fact that I'm big, and I'm on a program, I'm losing weight and stuff. But at the same time, I really think if you look a certain way, and if you are a certain way, it's very, very important to use it to your advantage at that time. And whatever, that film will go down in history then, and you'll always be big in that film. But you have used it, and you made it worth your while. I think whatever way you are at certain parts of life, you have to use it to your advantage if it can help the situation. And Candy obviously thought that way, and he used the fact that he was a big guy for his film roles, and that helped him. That made him become an absolute megastar in Hollywood. Made him become a big megastar in everything he done. So yeah, John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, both great portrayals of their characters in this film, The Great Outdoors. Definitely would recommend this one. Absolutely, I would say we'd give it about 9 out of 10. One of my favorites. I would say it's in my top three or five favorite comedies from the 1980s. Absolutely. Hope you enjoy it when you watch it. Again, I'm sure a lot of you have watched it if you're watching this episode. But definitely, I'm going to talk to you all later, folks. This was the Comedies of the 1980s, episode 1, and it is, of course, we've just talked about The Great Outdoors. Give it 9 out of 10, and I'm going to be back in my next episode with the comedy. Actually, first of all, we're going to go to a trailer of The Great Outdoors.
This is Chet.
You remember me, Chet Ripley?
How you doing?
This is his family.
You can run around here naked as a bear and not worry about running into anybody.
This is Roman.
What a gas.
This is his family.
I'm waiting for their heads to rotate around and vomit pea soup.
They're about to spend 1 week together in the great outdoors.
We weren't invited.
Ah, they'll be tickled to death to see us.
Who invited them anyway?
But this is no holiday.
The man is an ass.
This is war.
You wouldn't know a good time if it fell out of the sky, landed on your face, and started to wiggle.
Are you going to argue, or are you going to enjoy yourself?
Dan Aykroyd. John Candy. The Great Outdoors. Outdoor fun for the whole family.
That had to hurt.
Alright, folks, as I was saying, I'm going to head on now. It's been great bringing you this first episode, the comedies of the 1980s, and it was the Thanksgiving special. And the next episode will feature the likes of Bill Murray in a couple of films. It will feature some other great stuff. So I hope you enjoy them. But right now, we're going to leave you with some great music and a couple of good clips from the 1980s and the movie verse of the 1980s. But for now, folks, all the best. It's been the Kyoster here. Tune in to episode 2 of the Comedies of the 1980s. Bye for now. Kyoster, over and out.
Acknowledge, please. Acknowledge, please. Where are you?
It's okay, Jack.
It's not okay. I got a small plane here. I don't know where it is.
Jack, a fly landed on your screen. Look, Jack, you've been landing planes for 13 years. Face it, you're burned out. You need this rest.
So Jack Chester's taking that lead.
Oh, this is great.
Renting a beach house.
4:15, this is it.
And getting the family ready for the best month of their lives.
Oh. Have the milk, please? Here. Thank you.
Quiet and secluded.
Come on, get out of here.
With outstanding facilities.
Sit down, relax. All right.
Perfectly situated.
Holy fuck.
In a friendly neighborhood.
What do you think of these?
Similar?
I just got them.
Who had them before you?
John Candy's gonna discover what a month in paradise.
What? Open the door!
Is all about. Summer rental.
Please! Oh,
Another film I want to talk about briefly on today's show is a film that stars John Candy from. It's a film that one of his earlier films from 1986, I understand. And it's called Summer Rental, and it's all about John Candy taking his family on a summer vacation to a beach area, and he basically it's a lot of quirkiness, comedy, and that around that situation. And it's John Candy as the father, and he gets into a lot of situations and stuff, and a lot of great comedy in that film, Summer Rental. And it's definitely worth checking out, folks, if you haven't seen it. It's one of the more obscure John Candy films. One of his earlier works, if you will, and it's well worth checking out. I would definitely recommend it, and it's called Summer Rental, and I would give it, I'd probably give it about 6, 7, maybe 6 out of 10. It's a film that I just discovered about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I was very, very impressed with it. Hadn't seen it before that, and there you go. More of an obscure gem. A nice little gem, though, from John Candy. That is Summer Rental, folks. Check that one out if you're free.